You're listening to Life Check Yourself with life coach, transformational leader, and dating and relationship badass, Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important life and love issues you want to know about. So, if you're ready to life check yourself in your relationships, your career, and the areas of your life that matter most to you, and you're not afraid to be called out on your, stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Life Check Yourself with Robbie Kramer. 3 secret qualities that men find most attractive in a woman. Ladies, welcome to Life Check Yourself. I am here. Ooh, you're going to love it. It's Robbie Kramer is in the house. This is everything you ever wanted to know about what the hell are men thinking? Because Robbie has been guiding men to accomplish their goals with women. He also does health, fitness, and career. Since 2008, he founded Inner Confidence to show men exactly how to create the lifestyle of their dreams in a way that works. And like me, he does not believe in quick fixes or magic pills or any bullshit. Just test, proven, and easily implementable advice that works. He brings dignity and ease to traditionally taboo interactions. He is not one of those, what do they call it, PUA? Pickup artist guys. Yeah. He's not into that shit. No pickup routines, no fake stories, no tricking women into liking you, just real attraction and connection. He has worked with over 1,000 clients on 6 continents. I think you all want to meet those 1,000 men and listen to Robbie as a podcast called The Leverage Podcast. It's a biggie. You're going to want to check that out. Robbie, I'm so happy that you're here.
Thanks, Marty. I love the intro. I love your energy, by the way. It's so contagious.
Thank you. So here, I was just saying to you even before we hit the old play button or the record button, is that most women are making up stories about men and what men think. And I think they picture men as the evil opponent, right? And you have to like armor up and freaking train.
Go to battle.
Yeah, I think I heard a Dax Shepard talk on Jimmy Kimmel about how he just wanted to get hired for a Marvel movie so he could get buff. Right? In Hollywood, they're like, you're going to be a superhero. Start training. And I think women are like, all right, I need to be up for this. It is the real deal. So just at the top level, what do you think is the biggest urban legend that women have about men?
Yeah, it's so funny because, both sides make up all these crazy stories. And whenever you're struggling with something, if that's your dating life, of course, you're going to start making up all these reasons why it's not working for you, right? Because taking responsibility is not always the first thing we do, unfortunately.
Right.
So, the thing that I've definitely seen, like you said, just women, they're thinking that men are just doing all this crazy stuff that they're not doing. The guys I work with and most guys in general, the guys who are overthinking this stuff are doing the same thing that the women are doing, right? This overthinking leads to just tons of issues and problems, and it doesn't get you anywhere, right? Trying to think what the other person's doing, or it's just, what they call it, paralysis analysis.
Yeah, right.
And it's the guys I work with, they're just, they're doing what they're doing, and they're just trying to get dates. And when they do get a date, they're just trying to make sure they don't screw up the basic stuff, like where to go, what to do, not stick their foot in their mouth in the beginning of the of the conversation. And they're so worried about themselves. They don't even really, all their life goes, okay, she's attractive. I'm into her from a looks perspective at first, of course, because that's the first thing that you're going to obviously, if you're not mutually attracted to each other, you're not going on that date.
Right.
But after that, everything else, it's so internal. Both sides don't even if you're worrying about what the other person's doing, you're just putting so much shit in the way because the other person's just worrying about what they're doing too. So
I love it. So we talk about this energy that women can get into, I call it like the get mentality, right? Where they're like, how do I get him to respond? How do I get him to ask me out? How do I get him to want to commit? How do I want, like, and it's all about the other person, right? So when a woman is in that like anxious get mentality, how do you think men experience that? Like turn off, turn on, what do you think the experience is?
It's a big turn off. It would be similar to a woman experiencing a man who's just trying to get laid.
Right. Oh,
it's totally agenda based, trying to get somewhere, trying to kind of use that person for their own, you're making the other person like a means to an end, right? If you're trying to get laid, it doesn't really matter who, and
right.
You don't want to be that girl, right? And if there's a woman who's just trying to get a guy or trying to get a certain guy to do something so she can feel better about herself, or, maybe she really needs a relationship and she's a little bit desperate and she's just trying to get some guy to, commit. Maybe it's not even the right guy. Just to kind of boost her confidence. And yeah, of course he's going to feel that agenda, and it's not going to feel good. And obviously the stuff is subtle, right? No one's probably 100% doing that, right?
Right.
And if you are, you're probably not getting anything. That guy's never getting laid, and
that woman's never,
not getting in that relationship. If you're operating from that agenda, it's just really unattractive and a huge turnoff.
And what are the things that you think women do that evoke that energy? Like one thing I talk about is in texting I call it the rule of thumb. Like don't be sending these texts that are like longer than your thumb. Right? Like
I like that.
Yeah. So like what do you think, like on a date, what are women doing? Is it that they're talking too much about work? Are they interviewing? Like what are the actual things that they do on these dates or on the Zoom date or even in emails or in their profile? Like what are they doing, you think, that evoke that?
Yeah, so I experienced this a lot when I was living in New York. This was back in like 2013. I was around 30 years old and very much single and out on the hunt, going on 3 or 4 dates a week. Right? New York City, it's like the easiest place to get dates for both sides because there's nothing else to do. And in the city, you got to go out. You don't want to stay in your tiny little apartment. Right.
Right.
City, so right, you feel bad about yourself if you're staying inside there. So, anyways, but what I felt was there were so many women that would just bombard me with these like, what do you do? What's your job? What qualifies you to do that? How much? But it was very much like trying to base me or like trying to judge me based on what I did, how much money I made, and whether or not that would fit their sort of prospect for a long-term partner candidate. And the first question would always be like, what do you do? And where'd you go to school? And who do you work for? And it's like, I can answer those questions. That's fine. And I obviously love those questions because when I tell them I'm a dating coach, they have no idea what the hell to do with that.
Yeah, they're like,
they're usually expecting, yeah, what a dating coach. But I would just see that all the time, and it was just such a turnoff. And it was funny because that same year after moving to New York, I spent a summer in Europe. And for whatever reason, the European mentality, and this isn't just, you call it a New York thing, or maybe it's more of an American thing. And I don't think it's just women, it's just our culture in general. But we're way more focused on work and career and getting ahead, whereas the European style is more like, let's take a little nap.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Hours and let's live life. Let's drink some wine. Right. So the question I'm always getting in Europe is like, so where have you been? Or, tell me more about your passion. And that felt a lot better to me for whatever reason, because it wasn't so much of an agenda, like where this person seemed like they were trying to get to know me versus make sure I fit into their sort of box to see if we would work down the road. And, the truth is, it's like, if you're weeding people out based on these small criteria, you're really just asking to. I think it's a mechanism. It's like an imposter syndrome where you're basically like, okay, if this person isn't within this criteria, I'm not going to date them. And then you make that criteria extremely small, and then you get to tell yourself the story that there's no one out there for me. I can't, and dating is not my fault. It's just, there's no one in my category. Right?
That's so important. Did you hear that, ladies? That is so important. Like, we make our criteria so small and maybe misguided or not focused on the bigger things, and then you basically are ruling out everyone.
Right. And then you get to be right about that story that, there's no one out there for you.
Yeah. Which, I mean, if you guys want to be right, you can. I mean, but like, why bother? Let me ask you this. So what's the biggest mistake that men make on dates?
They pick a horrible venue, and they just do a really bad job of making a plan, right?
Yes.
My belief is the guy...
I'm like, yes.
The other person on the date. Right?
Yeah.
If you're asking someone on a date, it's your job to come up with a plan, right? And I even tell my guy clients, I'm like, listen, if a woman asks you out, you should still come up with a plan, because it's kind of the more masculine thing to do. And hey, if she wants to come up with it, that's great too. But you should definitely have a plan no matter what, because if she doesn't, then you're going to need a backup. And I'm a big proponent of, telling my clients they should be leading, they should take on that sort of masculine energy and quarterback a date in the right way. It's not that hard if you put some thought into it, but most guys don't really think about it. There's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go to dinner, right? And they think of a restaurant. But dinner dates, in my opinion, are the worst first dates.
I agree.
You're immediately, they suck. You're injecting a shitload of friction into the experience, right? You show up, and immediately you're dealing with a host or a hostess.
Yeah.
And they seat you, and then you're trying to have like a small talk conversation. People are constantly coming over to bother you. You're trying to look at the menu and figure out what to eat while trying to have a good conversation. It just doesn't work, right? It's impossible to be present and really like engaged with the person you're talking to when you're trying to figure out what to order.
No, totally. And then you're like, is it too much? Like, you already start to think about who's going to pay.
Exactly. What, should I eat the spaghetti? What if I get it on my shirt?
Right.
She's, what
is it true that men, when a woman orders a salad, a guy's like, oh God, she's a salad person. Is that true?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe some guys, but I think it's more of a red flag, or not a red flag, but like, if I was on a dinner date and she sat down and she's like, give me the T-bone steak. I mean, I think that's great, because I love steak, but I'd be like, all right, that's aggressive.
That's so funny. But this is exactly why dinner is such a shitty idea. You're like, exactly. A steak is, and I think women are so weird anyway. We're like, I don't know, I should order the sea bass, because then, but I really actually want like the fucking fettuccine alfredo. Okay, so dinner out, not a great first date. So a guy who can like make a bigger plan is so much better. So
dinner sucks. Yeah, dinner sucks. And it's so easy to quarterback a date. It's actually the first thing that I like to teach guys. And it's like the front and center like giveaway thing on my website, because everyone sucks at planning first dates unless you've either gotten advice from someone or you stumbled across this by going on tons of first dates, in which case you're hopefully not continuing to go on first dates forever. But the first venue, so I have like a 3-venue sort of deal. And the first venue, the only point, it should be like 30 minutes to 45 max. And it's just to get past that small talk conversation. Meet at a coffee shop, meet at a bar, meet at a frozen yogurt place in the park or a gelato stand, and just walk around or just sit on a bench. And you just do you get that 30, 45 minutes of bullshit fluff talk out of the way.
Right.
And you can't avoid that, right? You can have a lot of fun with that. You can be flirty with that, but that's kind of what always happens in the first 30 minutes to 45 minutes on a date. And then if you're vibing and if it's going well, then I suggest changing venues, going to like a speakeasy or a lounge or something that's a little bit more swanky, some good cocktails. And that's kind of when the juicier conversation can kick in and it starts getting a little bit more intimate and interesting. But that's never going to happen. You're not going to sit down at dinner and 45 minutes into it, like feel that sort of shift in energy. You're just going to be in that same sort of boring initial 30 to 45 minutes. Maybe you're clicking and that's great. And of course it can work out, but you're just really doing yourself a disservice. So I think from both sides, dating would be so much easier if people just dropped the dinner stuff and they understood that, in order to change the kind of the chemistry and the dynamic on the date, the best way to do that is just to change venues, because it kind of gives you that like reset, and it allows you to just change the vibe. And it's so easy to do that. It has nothing to do with your personality. It has nothing to do with like her personality. It's just have a plan and go to some different spots.
So let me ask you this. So if a guy is like, hey, like I'd love to take you to dinner, and it's your first interaction, what's a way that a woman can gracefully, without, taking him out of his like lion roar zone, of suggesting something else? Like, do you just say, okay, or do you say, wow, that's a great question. Yeah, like how can we edit?
You could totally be kind of like tricky and clever with it by saying sure, and tell him what day you're free, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe like that day in the morning, you can be like, hey, I got some late work stuff. Can we just meet after dinner for drinks? Because I won't be able to make dinner. And he'll probably be like, oh, that's awesome. I don't have to spend money on dinner. This is great. Or, I don't think there's a single guy on the planet, if he's excited for a date, he's going to cancel because she wanted to push it back and skip dinner.
Oh my God. Okay. What about this? What about if he suggests dinner and you say like, well, I like your idea of just saying, okay, that's great. Like when and where. And then you say, hey, like, I'd love to get to dinner. Why don't we start and meet so that like we can feel like the vibe? Or is that like too, like a guy's like, oh shit, she wants to like test drive me first?
I mean, it's a little bit like that, but at the same time, it's not like that because you're suggesting drinks, which is more casual, right? Like the thing
or coffee.
I've got a lot of clients. Right. Yeah. I've got a lot of clients who like to use the Seeking of, that site, like a sugar baby site.
Ew.
And, yeah. It's the older guys, and they're looking for that. And it's definitely like a really sort of toxic place to date. And the thing that I'm always telling them, like, guys, get off these shitty online dating sites, especially this one, because when they suggest, grabbing drinks or coffee, the women on there will be like, no, take me to, the nicest restaurant in town. And, they're going the opposite way. They're going towards dinner because they're trying to.
They're just trying to eat.
They're in it for different reasons. They're just trying to eat. Exactly. And in some countries, they're getting cash back on the check. So.
Oh my God. Okay. So we know, stay away from that website, ladies. Okay. So, I like this a lot because I feel like a lot of my clients are like, oh God, that's too much. Like, I don't want to go to dinner, but I don't want to take him out of his roar zone. And so, the only thing I'm not a big fan of sort of making up a story. So I'm just wondering if they're, saying like, oh, dinner, canceled,
you could totally,
I just wonder, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you could just be like, hey, kind of just what you said. I don't think you're going to take him out of the roar zone. And if you did, that's probably not a guy you want anyways.
Yeah, no
right?
shit,
if he's
right?
So insecure that he can't, if he can't deal with that, he sucks. So,
okay, let me ask.
I'm totally down with your thing.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I'm not an expert at men. Okay, so let me ask you this one. Why? I feel like I'm championing every woman who's ever asked me a question right now. I feel like the pressure's on. Why do men send dick pics, and why do they go online and take mirror fucking selfies? Why? Why, Robbie? Why?
Oh man, I wish I could tell you. I think that the psychology around the dick pic thing is so weird. I think most of the guys that are probably sending dick pics are probably getting laid, and they're doing it for the shock value, just to kind of, just to kind of get the reaction. So I think there's maybe some of those guys, but they're really immature. And then, I don't know, because I don't come across those types of guys very often. Those are not the guys who reach out for coaching.
Okay, so this is a really important nuance here, right? Because women are always saying, why are we doing all the work? And I just really want you to hear that Robbie is super busy helping quality men want to be better men and better humans. And so I just think that's really important. Because I think that what happens is women focus so much on the guys who send the dick pics or the shitty mirror selfies. And they're like, there's no good men. They're all, whatever it is, because those guys are shocking. And what you said earlier is so important. You're collecting evidence that you're right, that there's no good men out there. So who gives a shit if there's mirror selfie guys? Those aren't your guys. You want Robbie's guys.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are doing you a favor by telling you right off the bat that they're, black flag, you're out, right? You should hope he sends a mirror selfie or a dick pic, because then you don't have to waste more time.
Exactly. And
find out early.
Yeah, and don't let that derail you, right? Because that's part of the process, because you're dealing with humans. Okay, my other question is this. Do you think there is a time, a set of circumstances around men settling down or wanting to commit or being ready to actually have a long-term relationship? Do you think there's a time? How can a woman assess if that's what she's looking for?
Yes, I definitely think so. I'm the best sort of, what do you call it, case study for that.
Okay.
I'm engaged. I'm 39. So I got engaged when I was 38. And prior to that, I was, a self-proclaimed man whore.
Okay.
Honest, authentic man whore. The women I was dating and sleeping with knew I was a man whore. They weren't, and it worked for me.
Did a bunch of them want to try and change you into a commitment guy?
I mean, in the beginning, many years ago, yes, because what I found was that when I wasn't being authentically kind of walking the sort of, or living the sexual sort of lifestyle I wanted, then that was happening. And that led to a lot of heartbreak and drama. And I wasn't very happy about I felt guilty about some of the things I did. Cause some women wanted to sort of change me. I mean, the whole sort of correct me if I'm wrong, but every romance novel I've ever come across, it's the same plot, right? There's a guy who has a lot of options and he's beautiful and all this crap, the knight in shining armor, but he's broken and, women want to change him and make him the perfect sort of guy for their relationship. Right.
Right.
So I was definitely a fixer-upper guy, right? I was the guy who he could be such a good guy if he would just stop being, such a Peter Pan sort of thing.
Right. Yes.
And it took me a long time to get to that. I had all these insecurities and confidence issues, which led me to this line of work. But when I finally started having some abundance and choice in my dating life, I wanted to make up for the lost time of I wanted to sleep around. I wanted to get that, sow the wild oats, as they say. And I needed a long time to do that. I didn't feel ready for a monogamous commitment until my mid to late 30s. Before that, I just really wanted to
have fun,
have a crazy time. Yeah. And so I did kind of make a mistake of getting into some relationships before that. The little voice in my head was I really love the girl and some of these women that I was with, but I knew in the back of my mind that I wasn't quite ready. And a couple times, a year or two went by, and then that nagging little voice, reared its ugly head and said, you're not really ready for this. And then those were obviously hurtful breakups, right?
Right.
Especially if, one of my partners was in her early 30s and she wanted to start a family, and, we were together for a couple of years, and that's very valuable time, if the clock's ticking.
Right.
So, if you're in that sort of phase in your life where you're looking for a commitment, you're looking to start a family soon, you feel that pressure from the shot clock, I definitely would not try to be changing some guy who's a player into a long-term commitment guy, because that guy's not going to change and he's just going to waste your time. And he's not going to waste your time on purpose necessarily, but you're not going to change anyone in a relationship. You need the guy who's be with me. Let's move this along. Like, you need the guy to be very much, at the helm of pushing for that as well. It should be an equal investment, right? You should both be wanting that at the same
huge.
level.
And this used to drive me nuts when I do that. We talked about man panels. And I'd get these dudes that I would be like, are you looking for a relationship? And I'd be like, well, if I met the right person. And I always just feel like that's code for no. But I'll sleep with you, and then maybe I'll grow out of my need to but I just think that this is a really important distinction for ladies who are dating, because I think that when we have some unresolved shit, we are selectively mute. Like, we hear what we want to hear. We paint the picture to make it look like we want it to be because of the potential or the possibility. And the choice point is what Robbie's saying is there's actually guys who are running down the street with metaphorical I'm ready signs, right? So that will look and feel different. So then what happens with the guy? How does he know, okay, now I'm ready? And then how does she know? Does she ask him? What do you think that looks like?
So yeah, what I was, I even had the reputation, obviously, of being a party boy, right?
Yeah.
And my fiance knew about my reputation, but was still curious to meet me. And when we met, and sort of went on a series of dates and that developed, I was, before that, I was totally looking for someone. And even though she didn't know that, and I had the opposite reputation, she could feel that big time because my energy completely changed around that. And I was the one that was, let's be monogamous, let's commit, right? And she was kind of shocked to hear those things from me. And in a good way, of course, because I had to kind of undo that reputation that I had in her mind, of course. And that, I always say that, when it comes to dating, and obviously with the gender roles changing and depending where you are, but traditionally kind of men have always kind of held the commitment card where women hold the sex card.
Right.
And if a man is super fast to play the commitment card, that's usually a red flag. With the sex card, I kind of disagree, but you can have great sex on the first date and it shouldn't matter. But if one side is kind of using those cards too tactically, that's always a red flag. Right. So if a guy wants to jump into a relationship, before you guys have even gone on a series of dates or before you've really got to know each other, red flag. Right. But if, on the same token, if a woman is holding off sex for months just because she's worried that if you're going to screw her and then leave, that's really unhealthy too. Because you're not letting the relationship sort of develop. So, I see that a decent amount with clients, is they'll be dating a girl and for whatever reason, the woman will just she won't let things progress because she's so worried that the guy's going to leave after they have sex. And that's just not the case. If a guy is ready, it doesn't matter so much when you have sex with them. And you need to be able to read that energy and not just rely on, do I sleep with them or not, based on some silly arbitrary rules.
Well, also, can't you just like high school style, can't you roll through the bases? There's a difference between I'm not going to sleep with you and then let's just take this a little bit slowly so that, when we decide to have intercourse, when we're going for the whole thing, we know each other, we can have that kind of honest conversation, right? Because I think women are so fucking binary that they're I'm not sleep, I'll do like George Costanza, I'm going to do the exact opposite, right? So therefore I'm not going to, and so I think what you're saying is you have to read the context of the conversation and what's the guy earning and versus his conversations that you're having and how does he make you feel? By the way, anyone could leave. You might break up after you have sex because you realize 6 months into it or 5 months into it, he's not your person.
Yeah.
Doesn't guarantee. Exactly. So you just had a moment and you were like, okay, I'm done now. I'm done. My friend Chris, who you listened to on the show, the conversation I had with Chris many years ago was I've seen enough big boobs. like I've done enough, right? Like I've had my dose of double D's or whatever it was for him, and then he was just like done. Like it was gone. That need to sow the oats just was gone. Did that happen for you too?
Totally. And the sowing the wild oats thing for me was all my own sort of validation shit. It was, because I was kind of like the chubby kid in middle school, and I got rejected from the first girl I asked to be my girlfriend, and that basically led me to like not asking any women out until like the end of high school. So I was kind of a late bloomer,
right?
And there was like a lot of confidence issues and I guess trauma from that, and I needed to prove that I was cool by like going out and having all these experiences. And it took me a really long time to prove it to myself. It took me like 15 to 20 years, until my mid 30s. And I was even aware of that for like the last couple of years of it. And I'm like, no, for whatever reason, still got to do this, still need to go out and,
Was it as fun? Was it as fun? Was it as fun at the end? Cause you knew that? Did you have to like?
That's what changed. It stopped being fun. It became just like each successive, conquest or victory or whatever lost its luster. And after a while, I'm like, what am I doing? This is like really not fun or cool anymore. What I really want is just to like find someone awesome and kind of move on to that next phase of life. Like I started feeling a little bit old. I was like, I kind of want a family soon. And it was just a very like kind of black and white switch over. And then I started looking for that person. And then I realized like, you're probably not going to find this person in that party lifestyle scene. And so that's another one. If you're a woman and you're looking to see, what type of guy he is, just kind of look to see who he's hanging out with and what he's sort of doing. It doesn't always tell the picture or tell the truth, but you can get a lot of pretty good data from that. Like if all of his friends are like crazy partying single dudes and he's, going on yachts with them every week in Miami, odds are that's probably what he's trying to do.
The odds are you might see him on a reality show in a couple of months. Yeah, right. And I get that, and I think it's important for women to hear too. Like we all, I think, have our wild oats days. When I got divorced, at like 38, I got married really young. I also like didn't have much confidence, so I was like, wait, I can sleep with hot guys. This is cool. I could never do that before, right? And then you're like, okay, wait, like now it's hiding something else. And it starts to lose its luster. So I think it's really important for women to hear like the behavior will show you who the person is. And a guy who is ready is not going to be playing the games. He's going to text you back when he likes you. He's going to want to see you again. He's not going to disappear unless he met someone else or he's not ready, right?
Totally. Yeah. And that's I'm really glad you brought that up, because a lot of the time, I mean, the thing that happens to all of my clients and on the most, the thing that happens most often is women disappear, right? They ghost or they stop responding or whatever happens. And I tell my clients, I'm like, guys, you can't take that personally, because it's almost never about you. It's almost always about someone else. There's another guy in her life. Maybe it's an ex-boyfriend, or maybe it's a new guy that just came in the picture, and he's, for whatever reason, there's more of an emotional investment there for her with him. Odds are that will change and that will pass, because most relationships fail.
Right.
99.99 or whatever. Right.
Yep.
And as long as you don't get salty and send like a rude text or weird or send a dick pic or do something stupid, odds are as soon as that relationship, unravels, she might be available and she'll remember you as the cool guy who didn't chase after her or didn't do anything weird. And then that can be the perfect time to start something new. And I've had that happen so many times with women over the years where I didn't, I just simply, I waited and I did my own thing. I didn't take it personally that, she wasn't getting back to me. And then we ended up having like a really cool, awesome time or relationship. And it happens both ways. So if a guy ghosts you or whatever, like just it doesn't matter. Odds are he might be back.
Yeah. I mean, I've had some clients who that happened, and then I had one client who ended up marrying the guy who came back, right? Like, so,
exactly.
so yeah, as we like to say around here, just chill the fuck out.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Okay.
I guess it matters. So the one thing, just to throw in there, like if he ghosts you after like a series of dates, he's probably not coming back. But
yes.
If it never got to the date, or maybe it was just one date and that you felt like the date went well, but then he never heard from him, it's probably this thing I described before.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good distinction. So I think that's really important. Okay, Kyle, we have to have you on the man panel sometime for sure. So let me ask you one last question. Gosh, I'm sort of like, do I want to ask one or do I want to ask the other? So if you think about the secret thing that men are really attracted to, like if you could distill it down to one thing, what is it?
I think it's really, it's confidence, but that's a sort of an airy-fairy word. So I'll make it more distinct. I think it's really knowing what you want and not settling for anything less, and having those like, yeah, this is what I want. If that's not you, that's cool, but I'm good. And having there's nothing fucking sexier than a woman who knows that, and she knows what she wants. She knows that she can get what she wants, and she's not going to settle for anything less. And that will cause guys to step up. Like if a guy really likes you, and and then you're exuding that type of energy, like he'll move mountains to to be with you, because there's nothing more attractive than that. And that obviously, I think that works both ways for men too.
Yeah.
But I think women forget that, and they think guys are too, like, oh, they just care about tits and ass or whatever,
right,
or other things. But no, it's there's nothing sexier than confidence in a woman, I think.
And that is so true. And that's what I just really want to shake all of your shoulders who are listening and be like, you are amazing. And if you got that, then everything would change. Like if you got it at a soul level, right? Because the whole idea because I've interviewed a ton of men and they all say women have the power. And if you say that in a group of women, they're like, they're like, no, we don't. Men have all the power. And so you need to feel your power. I think that's the real deal.
Totally. Women really do have all the power in the dating game. It's they're the choosers. They're the ones literally making the choice. Right?
And if that is blowing your mind right now and you're like, that is fuck you, Robbie, that is so not true, then literally you need help. Because it is absolutely 100% true. I have talked to thousands and thousands of humans with penises, and they all say the same thing. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Advice from humans with penises. You have all the power. Robbie, thank you. I hope to chat with you again. You are brilliant, and your clients are lucky. And ladies, go back, listen to this episode. I think there's a million points where you could life check yourself. We'll see you back here next time. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP, that's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes, and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marni Batista, and let's talk soon.